All right, welcome in. Under Review back 2022 and the first episode of the year for us. We decided we'd come back. You know, we normally stop, Stephen, after football season, but we decided we'd keep it going.
Well, we normally stop, and then also we just kind of bailed at the end of football season there. The holidays caught up with us. We took a brief hiatus, but we're back.
A little bit.
Back again. Damn, Daniel, back again.
Back at it again. So we got some good content coming y'all's way. I mean, we got a lot of basketball in the state going on. We have the number one team in the nation currently in our states. We got a lot of basketball to talk to. The playoffs. Wow, what a great weekend of football. Stephen and I can't wait to talk about that, as well as we can't wait to get you guys involved. Like and subscribe to our podcast, and like us on Facebook. Make sure you leave a comment below and let us know what you guys think about what we're talking about.
We need to build the YouTube. Let's like and subscribe to YouTube.
Yeah,
like and
absolutely.
Subscribe. Like and subscribe.
Anything that involves Under Review.
Ring the bell. Like and subscribe. You could win $5,000. Not from us, but you could win it.
Lots to talk about on the show. Like I said, the NFL playoffs are in full swing. College basketball in full swing as well. But we'll start out as we do every show with our champagne and whiskey.
Woo!
Who's popping champagne?
So I will go with popping champagne. I'll give it to Big Ben, who announced on, I guess it was Instagram? I don't know. He put out a video basically saying that he retired.
We've known this for a minute, though,
He's done.
Right?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
I mean, we knew it all season. We knew that after last season, and he sat down with, what was their center's name?
Was it when the
Pouncey?
Yeah, it's one of the Pouncey brothers. Yeah, right.
He sat down with him on the bench and was like, kind of sad. And then we saw it all this year that he was done. Probably a year
term
too late.
Noodle arm was kind of coming into play.
He was very slow, very slow.
Yeah.
But hey,
it was time.
He gets to pop some champagne because he is.
He made it to the playoffs though.
He did. He
got
made
his team to the playoffs.
One last run. And there was I was talking to somebody. There was a quarter that you were like, okay, there's hope. There's hope here for against the Chiefs. You also had the best defensive end in the country, defensive player of the year, so that doesn't hurt anything.
The original three-headed monster of the Steelers is now gone, though. Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, and now Big Ben. All three of them.
That's true.
Remember a few years ago when they were just like the big three in the NFL, and everybody was like, "Man, this is an offense that just cannot be stopped."
The triple Bs,
the triple Bs, baby. They're all gone.
Well, it's funny too if you go back and watch, because I think everybody forgets because in recent years, Big Ben has been. Not Big Ben, I guess, because you forget, like, back in, like, 2008 or so, like, that kind of
was the man.
area. Well, he's just so big, and, like, obviously he's Big Ben, but it's just so funny to watch him just shrug off people like they're not even there. Like, it's...
Now it almost feels like that's like a crutch for him because he's so big. He can't move around anymore.
He's so slow, but he was always slow, so he's never, like, fast. But it was just back in the day, it wasn't like he would get tackled by an arm tackle. It was just people just bounced off of him. Like he just was so sturdy that he would just get bounced off of all the time and could throw the ball anywhere on the field just, because he was so massive. So I think people forget. But he deserves to be popping some champagne. Had a great year.
Steelers fans love him, but it's time to go when even the faithful Steelers fans who loves you so much, when they say, you know what, it's probably time.
Yeah, I think everybody, all the Steelers fans were happy to give him this last year. Just be like, okay, this is last year. Let's give it to him. Let's do whatever we can for him. And then
absolutely,
kind of they're like, thank God. Thank God he retired.
Thank God.
So I'll be interested to see what they do in the draft and free agency. That'll be interesting. But my other whiskey, speaking of free agency, that could potentially, it's not even... Is he a free agent? I don't know. Packers are sipping some whiskey.
You're talking about Aaron Rodgers.
Yes. Yes. I don't think he's a free agent.
I think it's restricted free agent.
Yeah.
I think he has to be traded.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Oops. Turn off my sound. Packers are my whiskey because the Broncos hired their offensive coordinator, Nathaniel Hackett. Which I also heard. I was listening to Jocks today at lunch, and is Matt McLaren? Does he do the lunchtime?
Yes, he's the lunchtime one. Yes.
He was saying Nathaniel Hackett sounds like somebody's name from 1786. Like if you heard Nathaniel Hackett, like they're from the 1700s.
It's not and another thing about this is, you really don't even think about Nathaniel Hackett when you think about the Packers and their offense. You think of Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers, and Matt LaFleur is probably the one who's calling most plays, and Aaron Rodgers has earned that right. He's calling most of those plays, right? I mean,
he's probably audibling. He's probably doing the Peyton Manning, Tom Brady thing where there's a call in, but he has 10 plays he can audible to, whenever he wants, I'm sure. As he deserves, like. So,
much credit do we really want to give that guy? For
their offense
success?
To me? It's like it wasn't their offense. that crazy. I mean, they were good, but
are they really that creative, or is it really just Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams?
I was gonna say they have Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Jones, and Devontae Adams, and so they check it down to Aaron Jones, or they throw a 50-50 ball up to Devontae Adams, and then it works because they're great. But
that's kind of what bit him in the butt this weekend against the Niners.
It was.
So.
He stared down. Well, I guess it was 2 weekends ago.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
No,
you're right.
It was last week. It was this weekend. Yeah. It's because it was a Saturday game. That's why I was throwing you off. It's because it was a Saturday game.
It was.
That's
but
why
anyways,
I was throwing you off.
Packers are sipping whiskey because Nathaniel Hackett goes to the Broncos. This is clearly to try and lure Aaron Rodgers to the Broncos. And also,
it's a power move for sure.
I saw a quote from Aaron Rodgers. I think it was back in November. Or maybe last season, honestly. And it was saying, he basically said, no, it was back in November. He basically said Nathaniel Hackett is his favorite coach in the locker room. And he says, I really hope he doesn't go anywhere unless I do. And that was like the end of the quote. So,
well, the Broncos certainly are trying to put themselves in place where they can land Aaron Rodgers.
LA's trying to pull another Peyton Manning move over here.
But what could they possibly trade in order to get Aaron Rodgers to the Broncos? I mean, do they have draft picks? Do they have?
I really don't know what assets the Broncos
I don't know
have.
what assets they possess. I mean, I know they have a really young and talented roster, but you don't want to trade obviously all that away if you're bringing in a quarterback in a supposed Super Bowl ready roster. You don't want to trade most of those away if you're bringing in a quarterback.
They have a lot of good young players.
You pretty much want it to be a Peyton Manning situation like you had a few years ago.
Right, which I was about to say, this is a really weird scenario because Peyton obviously was a free agent. Tom Brady was a free agent. This is a weird scenario where it's a quarterback still performing, obviously, at MVP level.
Yes.
Won it last year, is in the conversation this year.
Right.
But he's 41, 42. So what do you...
Do you take that? You roll that dice, or do you,
What do you give up for a 41-year-old quarterback that you're at best you're going to get 2 or 3 years?
Another thing is with Green Bay, what do they have left that attracts an Aaron Rodgers to stay? What is your selling point for a guy when the last few seasons? I mean, what is it now? 0-4 against the Niners. The Packers are with Aaron Rodgers.
Was it 0-4? Well, it was he's 1-3, 1-4 in his last 5 home games at Lambeau.
And I mean, for a team that consistently wins 13, 14, 15 games every single year.
Well, I was going to say the last 3 seasons, I think. The last 2 or 3 seasons. How long has LaFleur been? 3? Is this his third? This is his third. So they've won 13 games. 12 or 13 games in each of those seasons, and then they lost at home. Like they have a home field game.
They have home field advantage, and then they end up losing.
And this by far, we'll get into the games later, so we'll go ahead and do champagne and whiskey, but we can talk about all the mistakes the Packers made in their game.
Well, now I'm gonna start off with my whiskey because it affects me as a Saints fan directly, and that is Sean Payton has decided to hang it up.
Yeah, one of my Falcons just for you.
I know. I mean, it's just and it's the way I look at it. I did see a lot of sources come out that say this is just because of personal reasons because he is burnt out. It's not because he's taking another job somewhere. It's not because he's looking for greener pastures. This is strictly. I think he's going to go into TV, probably part time, maybe go in the booth a little bit, which he would be good at it. We've seen Drew Brees. Drew Brees is really good at it. We've seen some other former players and coaches who have really been good at that. So Sean Payton likely will make that move. How much I trust that, we'll see. Money can talk. So if Jerry Jones from the Cowboys does, fire Mike McCarthy one day and throws a lot of money at Sean Payton, it'd be hard to say no.
I saw Cowboys, and I forget who else I saw. Maybe it was Vegas.
Maybe it was the Vegas Raiders. maybe the Bears.
Well, it's not the Bears because they hired.
They just hired somebody, right?
Colts defensive coordinator.
That's right. They did.
He has a weird last name. It's Matt something.
A lot of no names getting some jobs, but yeah, Sean Payton, obviously
I think
Hall of Fame head coach.
Yeah, no, Hall of Fame.
But I mean,
it's crazy if you look at the Saints' overall record before Sean Payton was coach, and then after Sean,
it's night and day.
He has like 70% of all of the Saints' organizational wins. His wins because they were the Aints, and so he kind of brought them to relevancy and kept them there.
So it's a sad day because you not only lose your Hall of Fame quarterback last year to retirement, but now you lose your Hall of Fame coach in a matter of 2 seasons. So the Saints are unfortunately going to be in a pretty bad position coming in this offseason.
100% he's going to work in TV for a year and then get another coach.
I think you're right. I think it's going to be similar to a situation we've seen many, many times where these coaches take a little bit of a break. They kind of recharge the batteries.
Yeah.
Get on TV. We've seen Bob Stoops is doing this. I think it's at some point. Come on,
Bob Stoops isn't coming back because I think the only way he comes back would be to Oklahoma. Because doesn't he have some kind of...
He has some kind of position there, but I mean,
something weird.
It's just odd, you see Bob Stoops on TV, then all of a sudden he's the Oklahoma interim coach because
for one game,
for one game. So
because
it's like
they can. Do they win?
But they did. They beat Oregon. Remember?
They did. You're right.
They beat Oregon. So he comes back and they win. So obviously, hey, Bob Stoops, the answer, right?
There you go.
So rehire him, Oklahoma. I mean, why'd you go out and hire somebody else? You have a guy right there. Anyways, and my champagne, I'm actually going a different direction here, not with sports, Steven.
Ooh, okay. I'm interested.
Moviegoers.
Okay.
I'm going to say pop a champagne. There's been a lot of great films that have came out the last few months. I have been to the movies now about 3 times, and I've enjoyed every film I've went to.
Really? What?
I went and saw the Scream movie, the Spider-Man film, of course, a couple months ago. Of course. And then I recently watched the Dune movie. I did not go to the theater to see that, but I watched the Dune movie. Yep. And then, of course, there's a ton of really good films coming out in the next couple of months.
It sounds like you just want to get on my other podcast.
I mean, I'm just kind of pitching myself a little bit, Steve. I'm not trying to sell myself, but I mean, if you and Jeff need some more content, I'm just.
We always need you, Cole.
I
need you in every.
Just trying to say.
Just follow me. We'll just be together in life.
But great movies are out there. So just saying, besides sports, we can't appreciate.
That's very true. But
there are some really good movies out there.
So the funny thing, I didn't know this until Jeff actually told me this. They call January Dumpuary because they usually put all their bad movies in January.
That's.
Shout out to your Scream movie.
I must say, it was a good film.
Yeah.
It was a good film. Above most people's belief because they think that these slasher films nowadays are just kind of ridiculous and not really good at all. No good plots. Kind of recycling the same time.
Yeah,
it was really good. It was kind of a good take.
They're doing
they're
doing the whole Halloween thing of they're just going to bring back the old stuff. And
just keep on bringing them back.
Hey, whatever makes money.
Fresh faces.
Whatever makes money.
Well, anyways, back to sports.
There we go. Back to sports. I like it though. I like it. So let's move right into the NFL. And first questions first. I can just ask you: was this the best weekend of football games ever? Because that's what everybody's going to say. That's what all the talking heads are not going to say. They've been saying it for the last week. This was the greatest weekend of football ever. Was this the greatest weekend of football ever?
I don't know if I'd say the greatest weekend of football ever. I'd say we had a couple of really good games for this season. Maybe the best weekend of this season for sure. I mean, it definitely, like you said, every game came down to the last play. I get that, but the Niners and Packers game for a majority of that game was very unwatchable.
It was very boring.
It was very unwatchable.
Very boring.
I really can't really say that game, I didn't really enjoy watching that game. And the Titans and Bengals game was pretty good to watch. I mean, just seeing Joe Burrow handle that adversity and whatnot of getting sacked so many times and still
I guess it really
finding a way to win. But really the only game that made the weekend was Bills and Chiefs.
Yeah.
That was the game that made – I am grateful that, we had such very competitive games and whatnot. But, I mean – I don't know. Maybe not the best weekend ever. I'd have to go back and look at some of our past weekends we've had in NFL playoff history and whatnot, but
it
might be up there, though.
It's definitely up there because I don't think we've ever had a divisional round or in NFL anyways. So let's take college out of this. I think it's very close to NFL because I don't think we've ever had playoffs, which are meaningful games. So it's not a regular season game where it's like, 6 games went down to the wire, where it's just like, okay, it's week 3. Like, it doesn't really matter if you win or lose this game, These are very obviously move on to in the playoffs, and they all come down to the very last possession, game-winning field goals, game-winning touchdowns, everything else. I will say I agree with you, though. A lot of this falls into the recency bias thing. This is the last.
What have you done for me lately?
Exactly. Exactly.
Kind of a little bit of a knee jerk, a little bit.
And like you said, the Bills Chiefs was everybody's favorite game. The problem with the Bills Chiefs, the problem with it was there was no defense.
Oh, I did not. I didn't think you were going to go that way. No. I didn't know what you were about to say.
I wanted the Bills to win, but I had no defense, just none.
Now how?
So it's like amazing performances. Obviously, like you can throw out the stats of like Patrick Mahomes 177 yards after the 2-minute warning. So I mean, he threw for pretty much a complete game after the 2-minute warning, which is crazy. You can throw out, it was 26-23 with like the Bills were 4th and 13, and they score that touchdown to go up, and then that's when it went. What did they score, like 20-something points after that? Man. And so it's like you can throw out all those things. It's like, oh, that's incredible. Like this is like edge of your seat football. But at the same time, there's no defense. Like how do you compare? This is all-time games for Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. Like they looked incredible. Gabriel Davis looked amazing. Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, they all looked so incredible. But how do you there was
the
no
Bills defense was one of the highest ranked defense this season
Right. It almost
of the
feels
season
like
in the
it
NFL.
almost feels like, especially when you play teams like the Chiefs. Well, there's not many teams like the Chiefs, but a team like the Chiefs, it feels like you're playing perfect defense, and then one thing happens, it all falls apart almost.
Mahomes
You know what I'm saying?
scores a field goal in 13 seconds.
Right.
Two plays.
Right.
You know?
It feels like you can lose the grip on that
Right.
so
Yeah.
quickly. So quickly.
So you put this in the rundown. You've already been kind of glancing over it. Was this the best game you can remember? Where does it rank for you, Steve?
So
Because we had a Rams and Chiefs game on Monday Night
that was
Football
Monday
a
night
few
in
seasons
Mexico.
ago.
It was supposed to be in Mexico, right?
It was supposed to be in Mexico.
It went into LA?
Yes.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking
You know
about.
what game I'm
That's
talking about?
That's what everybody talks
everybody
about.
deemed
'Cause I think
that was the best game ever.
Well, it was like 50-something to 40-something was the final.
Yes. Jared Goff was the quarterback at that time for the Rams. I mean, like,
Exactly.
wow.
Exactly. But I go back and forth because there's games, as sometimes they're boring to watch. Like, you can talk about the 49ers Packers, which really wasn't like a great defensive performance. It was just these offenses are pitiful. What are they doing more so? But if you look at those games, let's throw it back to the national championship game, Georgia Alabama. In the first half, even though it was 9-6 at halftime,
yes, it was.
so it wasn't
9-6,
a lot of scoring. I feel like it was really exciting because every drive mattered
Felt
so
like it
much.
mattered, right?
You know what I'm saying? Like, everything was so. You can't let anything by you. You know, if they get one big play, if they can get this one first down.
Whereas the Bills and Chiefs, you felt like even if they came down a couple of touchdowns, they probably could get back in.
That was the, and everybody says this too.
Right.
That was the overtime rules. The NFL suck because it's whoever wins the coin flip is going to win this game because there's no defense. So that's where you fall into that. I think that offensively, it was probably the best game I can remember. Just in the final minutes, you know, like. The rest of the game was.
The rest of the game was pretty good too.
It was. It was always close. It was never a blowout.
That's what I felt like with the Niners and the Packers game. It wasn't until the fourth quarter where things started to get kind of spicy.
Right. Well, it was funny too. If you watch that game, the Packers score in their first drive easily, like to go up 7.
Yeah.
And then they don't do anything offensively the rest of the game. They miss.
of the game.
They get a field goal blocked. They get that punt blocked. Obviously,
Yes.
that's the only time 49ers score, which is crazy because I feel like the 49ers game planning usually offensively is like that's their bread and butter is their offense and being able to run the ball, and it's cold weather.
Absolutely.
Cold weather, you would think like, okay, it's cold weather. Nobody can pass the ball.
Packers, right?
Yeah. So I don't.
And they just couldn't get anything going.
Yeah.
And I credit that mostly because Devontae Adams was non-existent, and Aaron Rodgers could not get it to anybody else.
Well, he was doing terrible things of just targeting Devontae Adams when he was covered. Still, it was like. We don't have anybody else.
Refused to throw to anybody else.
Refused. And Randall Cobb came back, but he clearly wasn't healthy. He had Alan Lazard on that like final throw, people are saying, for his Green Bay career, when he chunks it in double coverage to Devontae Adams. He has Alan Lazard wide open in the middle. Like no players within 10 yards of him in the middle of the field. And so it's like he's just so, I guess, worried or he's just so reliant.
He doesn't trust his other receivers, it seems. He has that trust factor with Devontae Adams, and it doesn't feel like it with the other ones.
I don't know. It didn't look good for him because you have players or you have people like, Josh Allen. I think Stephon Diggs only had like 10 yards or something like that in the Bills-Chiefs game. And Gabriel Davis has 205, or whatever it was. So you see that version of, okay, I can find whoever's open. I'm going to throw it to the open guy. I'm not going to focus on my one guy and just be relying on him if he's not open. I can go over to Gabriel Davis and say, hey, you're going to have 4 touchdowns and 205 yards today because Stephon Diggs is getting double covered. He didn't do that with Devontae Adams.
No, but I got to say, these two quarterbacks, Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, they are two of the youngest talents we have in this league. They are our new Brady and Rodgers. For the next 10 years.
I don't even think Brady and Rodgers. I think it's more Brady and Manning. Because they're in the same not division, but they're in the same conference.
Same conference.
So we're going to see them, I feel like, in AFC championships for years and years.
You see the greatness.
Just for the cliche of it, the league is in good hands, Cole.
I think so. I think you're right. I really do. I think you're right.
The 50-year-old NFL talking head.
The league is in good hands. It is. I think with these quarterbacks, definitely.
Well, you look at Joe Burrow too, and you look at you can even go Justin Herbert,
Lamar
Jackson.
Absolutely.
We have so many young quarterbacks that are showing so much.
Because a lot of quarterbacks, Rodgers, Brady, Russell Wilson, those type of quarterbacks, they're kind of on their way out. Yeah. We have the Jared Goffs. Even Derek Carr, Kyler Murray. You have those guys that are in this league, and they're just young and getting better and better each game.
I think that it's really coming up now because I feel like we had a gap of like 5 years or so where we had quarterback, maybe a little bit longer. We had so many quarterbacks coming into the league, and it felt like no one was sticking around and really showing, oh my gosh,
they weren't improving. They didn't have a consistent coaching staff, and consistent players.
A lot of teams just had quarterback cycles going, and now it feels like we finally got some people who are, certified.
Normally the teams that do that, though, are the teams that stay at the bottom. The Jacksonville Jaguars,
the Jags,
the New York Giants,
the Jags, the Browns, the Giants, the Jets. You can go on and on.
They stay at the bottom because they cycle through those quarterbacks.
Right. But you can even point to the Bengals. Like, they had Andy Dalton, and they were successful, but they didn't win a playoff game.
They just couldn't win.
Yeah.
Now you find a guy who can take you over that hump.
That's what I'm saying. With 9 sacks, by the way. Sacked 9 times. Just still win. Did you watch that game?
Did I watch the Titans and Bengals? I did.
What?
9 sacks.
I feel like both teams, it almost felt like the Bengals were the better team. It was just that I really go back and forth with that game. Like, sometimes, at some points, it was really close. Like, it wasn't like the Bengals were better than the Titans or the Titans were better than the Bengals. It was just
they're better at one position, though, the position that matters.
And that's quarterback.
That's the quarterback.
Well, the Titans also, they made one too many mistakes. Just one too many interceptions. And I'll give it to Tannehill. Like, the first interception in the game, that was bad. He just missed the safety, right? Second interception, that's tough. He tried to get over. That guy, was the defensive end or the linebacker, just jumped way out of the building, right?
Yes.
Third interception, what is it? Like, 2 interceptions are his fault. The third, like, the jump pass, the jump tip, like, okay, that's very unlucky, right? The other 2, like, what are you doing? He threw in triple coverage to not Julio, not A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown was murdering the Bengals, too. They could not cover him, could not touch him.
Yeah.
You don't throw it to Julio Jones or A.J. Brown. You throw it to, I don't even know the guy's name. Like, you could say any name in the world.
Pick him out of the crowd.
No.
Yeah, no, you couldn't.
What are we doing?
I think what has happened is the Titans have squeezed every bit of greatness that they can get out of Ryan Tannehill, and you have a roster that is Super Bowl ready to win.
So if
you
know what it feels like,
need to go get your quarterback.
You know what it feels like? It feels like the Rams.
It does.
It feels like the Rams with Jared Goff.
Jared Goff
where
situation.
It's like Tannehill and Goff, to both their credits, they can have games where you see them, you're like, oh my gosh,
the talent is there.
But
it's the it factor. They don't have the it
and it's
factor.
The consistency.
Yes,
it's not even the. It's okay. He'll have a 350-yard, 3 touchdown, 0 interception game. You're like, oh my gosh.
I mean, look at the Rams with Matthew Stafford.
Exactly.
They go get the guy who has that kind of factor to him.
We'll see though. I want to pump the brakes because they made a Super Bowl with Jared Goff. So let's see.
But they scored 3 points in that Super Bowl.
That's true. That's true. So I mean, it's similar to that though, where it's like we've gotten everything we can. We're run heavy. We're play action, but they just made one too many mistakes. And
I think it's healthy for us on this show too, because neither one of our teams are in the playoffs at this point, so we could just be kind of biased, right? Yeah,
I feel good. I can just trash talk everybody.
You just kind of just watch the games, just enjoy them, right?
Any other thoughts over the other games?
Well, I kind of want to get your thoughts. I mean, the Rams, your pick the Super Bowl almost blew that game.
Oh my gosh!
I mean, can we just talk about those fumbles? How in the world do you literally almost let the Buccaneers off the hook like that?
I don't know. So I had money on that game, and then I had money on the Bills Chiefs over, which that over did not hit until that 4th and 13 touchdown. I just want you to know that. The over was 54. I think the over ended up being like what the actual total points was like 70 something.
That's
right?
Crazy.
But the over was the over under was at 54. It did not hit until actually the 2-point conversion that they had to complete. So he hits that Gabriel Davis, in the back of the end zone to go up by 1. They went up by 1. And then they get the 2-point conversion, and that's when the over hit. That was 55 points right there. So it's like insane. And then it goes to 70. Like what? That was. I mean, how much time was left? Like 2 minutes when that happened.
Not much at all. Not much at all.
I had money on this game too, so I had the Rams just money line because I think they were +3 or something like that. It's 27-3 in the
You're feeling good
quarter.
About yourself. I mean, come on.
And then it goes up to 27-13. The Rams get the ball back and they're moving. I'm still feeling good. And then they kick that field goal. It's 47-yarder and it's short. And I'm losing my mind at this point. I'm like, okay, you have a chance to make it 30-13, nearly untouchable at that point. And they found ways to keep giving the ball back. Cam Akers fumbles. They're on a goal line. They're right. I mean, what, at the 10-yard line or something like that? Runs it.
Yeah,
and fumbles, like almost touching his head is an inch from the ground. And he just fumbles. So it was. And hard to watch.
And if you keep giving Tom Brady the ball back, eventually he's going to find the end zone.
And it was the
Rams had them stopped for most of the game.
And I'm scarred.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, So
28-3, and I'm sure that started creeping in a lot of people's minds. Oh my gosh, is Tom Brady about to pull it off?
I thought
again?
If it was going in overtime, it was definitely because the Bucs had all the momentum.
Exactly. If that game goes into OT and the Buccaneers get the ball first, it's game over.
Yeah, and apparently what happened on the that Cooper Cup.
Oh, round of applause for! Oh my gosh, fantastic season!
Oh my gosh,
what a player! I mean, just a guy that if you told me a few seasons ago this is going to be the best receiver in the league, I would have been
crazy.
Like, no way.
It's crazy.
This guy is the best receiver hands down.
Well, he's got great hands too, because sometimes Stafford will not throw it like perfect, and he'll catch it like an inch from the ground, just all hands.
It doesn't matter. He's going to catch it.
He's great.
He's going to catch it.
And he gets open.
He can run every route.
It's like at this point in the season, hey, Matt Stafford, when he needs to throw it to somebody, he's going to throw it to Cooper Kupp.
He's the go-to guy.
You still got to guard him.
It's crazy.
Apparently, the Bucs, I think this linebacker, or maybe it was a corner, was supposed to blitz, and he just didn't. So, and it was on the
big play where the
chunk play.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are saying maybe he would have gotten home there if he would have blitzed. I guess he just didn't know the play.
How in the world though? The best receiver is stat wise everything.
How is he
one-on-one coverage?
What do we do?
And how is he getting blown?
Why are we cover zeroing on a play that
what?
We're cover zero. Why are we cover zero? What are we doing? You don't have one deep safety? Hey.
Is Todd Bowles the defensive coordinator of the Buccaneers still?
Yeah.
How in the world? Todd Bowles is one of the best defensive minds in football. How does he not say, hey, guys, you know number 16 right there? You might want to make sure or is he number 10? He's number 10, isn't he?
10.
Is he 10?
10.
Okay.
16 didn't sound right. I was going to go with
10.
it. But...
No, it's 10. I had a little brain fart there. 10. How do you not let number 10 be double covered or a safety?
Why don't we have a deep safety? Why don't we have it? Literally, the only
seconds left in the game, and you're not playing a prevent?
The only way you can lose that game was not having a guy over the top. Because,
unreal.
We're going into overtime. They don't have any timeouts.
I mean, I didn't have a dog in the fight, but I mean,
also,
come on.
Cooper, they let him get by and out of bounds on a 15-yard play right before that. So it was not only the chunk play, they also let him go.
This is not like it's a bad
defense.
The Buccaneers are actually a solid defense.
They literally won the Super Bowl. We can say, oh, Tom Brady is great. They finally won it because of Tom Brady. They won the Super Bowl last year because of their defense. That's how they won the Super Bowl. I don't know. Anyways, I was very nervous. And I was having flashbacks, and thank God they won.
Well, you picked the Rams to get the Super Bowl. Now, I can't remember. Did you pick them to win?
I picked the Rams-Bills. I think I picked the Rams to win. I think.
Well, then, so your winner's still alive.
My winner's alive, but my RIP, I was so close. I was 13 seconds from having.
So since we're talking about the Rams, we'll go right into the game they're playing this weekend. It's kind of
round three.
It's a round 3, and the 49ers have won both of the first 2 matchups, right?
Yeah, they're 6-0 in the last 6 games they've played against the Rams.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, Kyle Shanahan.
Crazy.
Kyle Shanahan
has
absolutely
Sean McVay.
Owns Sean McVay, which is so funny because him, Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, and Mike LaFleur are all close friends, you know?
Sad. Wow.
And Kyle Shanahan just has talked so much trash to Sean McVay.
He owns them.
Owns him. He owns a large space in his brain. And you can definitely tell that he owns space because when the last time they played, Sean McVay is out. They score a touchdown to go up by 14 or something like that. And Sean McVay is out there celebrating like they just won the Super Bowl in the end zone. And then the 49ers come back. So you know that Shanahan just owns a huge space in his mind. So that's why I'm super worried. I think the Rams are by far and away the better team. I'm very worried because...
And home field advantage doesn't help you because, look at last game. There was more... there was almost as much Niner fans there as there was Rams fans. Now, you'd have to think... Now, I did see where Matthew Stafford's wife did say... If there was Rams fans that were thinking about selling their tickets for the home playoff game,
did you see
that she was going to try and buy them and give them to other Rams fans?
Yeah, but did you see that the state? I don't know if it was the stadium or the Rams in general tried to restrict people outside the LA area. They literally said if you don't have some proof of your location where you live, did you not see that?
No,
and they got murdered for it, and they had to take it back. They tried to restrict it to LA citizens. Because I don't know, but I don't know if it was a COVID thing. If they were trying to be like, "Oh, this is because of COVID,"
or do you think it's because they think that some fans from California are maybe not?
Oh, I think they were definitely
not LA fans.
I think they were definitely trying to get Rams fans.
That's crazy.
But yeah, they literally had to because they restricted tickets. They were like, if you cannot show proof of residency, you're not getting in. And then it was like they just got murdered for it.
Well, and the Niner in San Francisco area, I mean, that's a proud fan base for the Niners.
Yeah, huge.
I mean, and it's still kind of iffy on the whole LA Rams. How much faithful fans do they really have behind them? Coming from St. Louis, because I know there's still people from St. Louis who are pulling for the Rams because they're like, St. Louis or die.
I feel like the Chargers are worse off because I feel like they've never really had a big fan base.
The Chargers
anyways.
Never had a big fan base. Oh,
it's like
have you ever even met a real Chargers fan in real life?
No, I haven't met a Rams fan in real life either, though.
Well, I actually do. I know a couple of Rams fans.
Okay, well, that works.
So they do exist. They do exist.
they are.
They're real. They're not make believe. They're not make believe.
It's like the Clippers and the Lakers, though. It's like the Rams are the Lakers, and then the Chargers are the Clippers. It's like maybe there are some, but it's Lakers, and then it's Clippers. So my question for you, I have two actually. I don't think the Rams are really scary to me because I think that this is not a question that
this is Steven's opinion.
Well, they just can't hold a lead. Like their last 3 games, they've gone up by 21, and then they just blow the lead, and they've won.
Most recently won against the Niners as well.
Yeah,
they had that 17-3 lead.
They destroyed the Cardinals, but then you go back to the 49ers, the last game of the season, and they have a chance to get the 2 seed. And everything,
and get my Saints to the Super, in the playoffs,
right?
Not Super Bowl, but playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. And then they blow that lead at the end, and then they almost blow this lead. So I'm very concerned about that. I think they're going to start out really hot, like they do, and they just start coasting, and then they, make mistakes or whatever. But my question to you is, can Jimmy G do anything offensively to get? Because I think they're going to have to.
Question mark.
This is not Green Bay where it's going to be snowing and 15 degrees. This is LA inside of a stadium where it's sunny and it's in a dome anyway, so it doesn't even matter. But you have to do something offensively because the Rams have too good of an offense to only score 10 points and only 3 offensively.
Right. Well, as much hate as Jimmy G gets, I mean, you look at that drive that he had against Green Bay in the closing minutes where he let him down to get that game.
He played really good.
He played a fantastic game. I know he was against the elements, and the Packers defense played pretty good for most of the game. But Jimmy G has really defied all odds as far as coming in clutch when the Niners have needed it most.
He threw the ball really well. He made some great.
It's down the field throws. These are not like little dump off passes. These are down the field passes. And Deebo Samuel has been playing great for him.
That's Deebo Samuel.
Him and George Kittle. Awesome.
Deebo and Cordero Patterson are just like. I mean, Debo's better than Cordero
fantasy
Patterson,
wise. I mean, great steals if you got him.
Well, you can probably put him at running back or wide receiver. But I don't. He's got to be able to move the ball downfield. Especially because I think the Rams probably have a little bit better defense than the Packers, too.
Absolutely. With Aaron Donald in the middle and all those defensive ends they have cycling in for the Rams. I mean,
also, the 49ers found a cheat code in getting Trent Williams to line up as a freaking fullback and just run him like a fullback. That's so mean.
That is a little bit. That's kind of cheating.
Like that's not even that's just mean. That's rude. Because then he just pushes. Did you see the clip of him play?
I did.
He literally just pushes the entire right side of the line over. Like, just pushed him over.
He's just a bully.
And it almost like hurt.
A big bully.
It almost hurt the 49ers more than it helped because Elijah Mitchell had nowhere to run because there was 10 people just laying on the ground. And it was like, well, I guess that kind of helps. I don't.
No, but you make a good point. Is can the Niners develop and kind of score enough points against this Rams? Because we've seen this Rams team; they're able to score in bunches. And it's kind of like a snowball effect. We saw against the Cardinals. We saw against the Buccaneers. When they score like in bunches.
It's almost like they run the two-minute offense. They score and then it's like hurry up in college football. It's like they just get to the line.
Defense
they call
makes
plays.
a big stop or makes a big play, and their offense goes.
And
down
I know Stafford. Yeah. I know McVay trusts Stafford enough to where he lets Stafford make some audible calls. So I know that too.
And it's like right after a turnover on first down.
Yeah,
long deep passes.
They go for it all.
Exactly.
And having Cam Akers back is huge. I know he fumbled twice, which really kills, but having him back and the way he's able to run the ball,
absolutely, 100%.
He runs it. He runs angry. He runs trying to hit somebody.
So, Steven, we've talked about it enough now. I mean, do you feel confident the Rams?
The Rams are the better team. The Rams are the better team. They just are. They have more talent. I mean, you can look at the 49ers.
You've been riding the Rams train
I have,
all season long, so I got to give you credit for it.
I'm not going to get off. I'm not going to get off because I'm going to say they're going to win.
Okay.
I'm going to say it's going to be close. It's going to be...
the line's 3.5, so I mean, it's pretty much, toss up. I mean,
because like if they weren't 6-0, I would feel so much better.
At some point, it's got to end.
If they're not 6-0, I would say this is a double-digit win for the Rams. because I just think they're better. The matchup doesn't really favor.
But you think that kind of is in the back of their heads that they can't,
my gosh,
we can't get past these guys.
They're 6-0, Cole.
That's true.
It's a
real thing.
I mean, Aaron Donald's been there.
Yeah.
Jalen Ramsey's been there. Like all these players, Cooper Kupp has been there. It's not like they're all new. It's just Matthew
Tyler
Stafford.
Higbee, all those guys.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they definitely own space in their head. They're going to be thinking about it. Again, I mean,
just Matthew Stafford alone's 0-2 against them this year.
Right.
So.
you just worry. Again, you just worry about they're going to come off. I guarantee they're going to come out really hot.
Yeah.
They're going to come out firing on all cylinders, pumped up.
Try and get that first punch.
Can they keep it up? Is the issue. And so I think that
they can.
I do too. I'm going to pick the Rams, but I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to end up being like a 3-point game. I don't think it's going to be where they have to make a game-winning drive, but I do think the 49ers will come back enough at the end to make it a really close game.
If the Niners are not capable of scoring in the 20s or close to 30, there's no way they can keep close this game.
Correct.
I just don't think they can produce that amount of points. So if the Rams score at least 27, 30 points, ball game. So yeah, I like the Rams to win this game.
So let's talk about Bengals Chiefs, the other big game.
What a shocker for this AFC.
I know.
Not on one side,
yeah.
But on the other one,
if you go back to like week 5, you would say shocker for that, even that one side.
Absolutely.
But really, so we talked a lot about the Bengals earlier and their problems with the offensive line. Sacked Joe Burrow 9 times. You got to do something different. They honestly, offensively, if they could just not get him sacked so much. Offensively, they looked fine.
Yeah,
they looked
Absolutely,
fine. They didn't look like they were lost against the Titans or anything like that. Just don't allow 9 sacks, and there you go. For the Chiefs, I mean their defense has been the problem since.
And what's so funny is during the season we actually talked about that they looked better.
Which is funny because I went back and looked. They improved when they played bad teams. So you go back and look at the teams. I don't have the record sitting in front of me right now.
They were shutting down bad offenses.
They were shutting down bad offenses. And then they went and played a good quarterback or a good offense, and then it was like same old defense.
Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, I think last Sunday.
Let's just
they were
going
to have.
That,
I mean,
right?
they had a performance for the ages. I don't think any defense was stopping them that day.
Yeah, I can completely agree. And again, it's one of those snowball effects where one thing happens and it leads to another and it leads to another, and then you feel like you're losing everything on defense. Like you just can't get a stop. You just need to slow down for a second, kind of thing.
Yes.
I don't. My one question for you, Cole, is really all I have for this is I do think the Chiefs will win. Do you think what can the Bengals do? Let's put it this way: to slow down the Chiefs. Can they get pressure? Because there's been times where the Bengals defense has looked really good. You can go back to when they played the Ravens. They destroyed the Ravens. Lamar Jackson. Everybody was healthy-ish for the Ravens. And there's times where their defense has looked elite. Obviously, there's times where they have given up a lot. The Bengals have been very back and forth this year. It's not like they were 12-4 or whatever the record would be. What can they do?
I think the only thing the Bengals can do is just make sure they try and keep up as far as scoring goes.
I
don't see the Bengals defense being that great at slowing down. I don't think there's any way you can slow down the Chiefs. The only thing you can hope for is just kind of pressure Mahomes enough to where maybe he can make some mistakes and take the ball out of his hands and whatnot.
Yeah.
Because the longer he has the ball, the more he's going to try and find guys like Tyreek Hill, find guys like Travis Kelce, find Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
I don't think you're going to get very many coverage sacks.
Exactly. I don't think you're going to. So if you're the Bengals, you just got to focus on what you can do best and just make sure, like you said, protect Joe Burrow and allow him to make plays with Jamar Chase, Tyler
not Higbee, CJ Uzomah?
Higgins.
Oh, you're talking about
is it Higgins or is it
T. Higgins? Yes,
and
T.
then Tyler
Higgins.
Boyd,
yes.
right? Yeah. And
CJ
Uzomah. Find those type of guys, get them open, find some early offense, and just, try to keep pace with it, and get it to the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
I think,
do. As I say, I think you try and slow the game down as much as possible if you're the Bengals.
Give Joe Mixon the ball.
Give Joe Mixon the ball. Yeah. Get a lot of those. They had a lot of almost jet sweep like plays with Jamar Chase and everything like that. I will tell you, Bengals, though, you're not going to win this game with the field goals you did with the Titans. So a lot of the drives the Bengals had.
How many field goals did they kick in that game?
So they kicked 4.
I think. Yeah.
So one being the game winning. Yeah, Evan McPherson. Which, I mean, hey, you have
a weapon,
arguably the second best kicker in football.
Yep.
Behind Justin Tucker, but you're not going to win it. You can't have these long drives because that's what they were doing with the Titans. They were having long, sustained, great drives. They would get down towards field goal range, towards the red zone. Joe Burrow gets sacked like 2 plays in a row, and then you're back down. You're second and 15. You're third and 30. Like you're just not gonna. You can't get behind the sticks. Basically,
no, you're not gonna get second chances against the Chiefs.
Yeah, So
the Titans gave you second chances all game long.
Yeah. The offense, I'd say you're just not going to get that, especially with the way their offense is humming right now.
If the Titans took care of the ball last week, they probably win the game.
I have the Chiefs, but I do think it's really close. It's hard not to be confident in Joe Burrow too. He just oozes confidence. You feel good
with a better offensive line and maybe a little bit better defense that I felt confident enough to stop the Chiefs. I would pick.
But hey,
the Bengals.
If you're a Bengals fan too. If you're a Bengals fan right now, you're so excited because you're overachieving at least a year ahead.
The Bengals and Chiefs played
Bengals
a few
won.
weeks ago. The Bengals won, yeah. That's what I thought. I couldn't remember.
34-31. That's what I feel like this game is going to be.
And see, and that's the kind of game you got to have if you're the Bengals. Is that kind of game? You just got to outscore them. Because you're not going to stop them.
No.
I haven't seen a defense this year.
You're not going to stop them, but I think there's ways you can slow them down. You got to play good. You have to at least play good defense and not, make bonehead mistakes. Just
you have to make them make mistakes.
KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. Exactly. That's all it is.
I got the Chiefs as well, and I think they cover.
I got the Chiefs.
I'm not sure what the line
what's the spread?
is. I think it is. I think it was a pretty close spread as well. I can't remember what it was specifically.
Let's see. Load. Bengals, Chiefs. Chiefs are 7-point favorites.
Wow. Okay, so a whole touchdown.
I don't like them to cover that. I would Bengals +7.
I will say that I'm with you. I don't think they cover either because I think it could just
Chiefs
be
win,
just
Bengals,
inside.
but Bengals cover.
I think it's definitely gonna be a close game though.
I do too.
I think these are two games that could be very entertaining, barring a Rams kind of a blowout of the Niners.
No, I agree.
I think the Rams are capable of an explosion on offense to where they maybe can get away from the Niners. But I think this Bengals Chiefs game will be very good.
I completely agree. So real quick before we move on to some college basketball, because we do have to talk about the teams. I do want to go over the recent, all the NFL news that we didn't touch on. So obviously the Bears hire their head coach. I need to look up his actual name because it's a funny name. Matt. He was the defensive coordinator for the Colts. Matt Eberflus. Eberflus?
I don't know that.
Yeah, never heard of him before in my life. But
don't know that name.
Bears hired him as head coach. They obviously hired Ryan Poles.
I wonder if one Tyler Evans is excited about this hire.
Well, I guess we'll never know.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Probably not.
And then they hire Ryan Poles as their new GM, which he was a player personnel for the Chiefs.
Yep.
So not too bad there. But the defensive coordinator for the Colts, very weird hire.
Very odd. Very weird. Yeah.
Because they wasn't like they had an average defense. Like they weren't bad, but they weren't.
No, but they certainly weren't like world beaters that you were like wow. Like
very weird hire. Because it's not like that was a name. Like people weren't being like, hey, look out for Matt Eberflus to be.
Yeah, watch out for that guy.
Yeah.
He's definitely the guy you want to be your next head coach.
So that one, the Vegas Raiders are currently looking at Josh McDaniels for a deal. Adam Schefter reporting on that. And then apparently the Patriots would then look to hire Bill O'Brien from Alabama to be their offensive coordinator. So going from
some Tide fans might be happy about that.
Yeah, as I say, I don't know. It's hard to be mad at him for scoring 30 plus a game. It's not like they had a bad offense.
Not bad.
It's hard to repeat.
Maybe just situational play calling would be.
That's fair. That's fair, but it's hard to go from 2020 when they're literally the best offense maybe ever, and then go like whoever it was going to not be the
right.
They're not Steve Sarkisian,
I agree.
And then how many first round picks were on that offense?
Ooh, I mean
3, 4.
Mac, Najee,
4.
Yeah,
the both
Devontae,
receivers, Jalen Waddle,
and Jalen Waddle.
So
that's 4, and then you had your offensive lineman.
Yeah.
So that's 5. You had at least 5. Wow.
So almost half. Like that's not really fair to Bill O'Brien. Who else got hired? There was another one, wasn't there?
I don't think
Miami
hasn't named a head coach yet, and neither has New Orleans.
I know you're hoping for Eric Bieniemy.
I would love Eric Bieniemy. Let me just say, the former coach of the Miami Dolphins, Brian Flores. I would take Brian Flores. The Miami Dolphins are stupid for firing him.
Why did they fire him?
I would gladly take Brian Flores.
One of the things I did see is that the Brian Flores and the owner didn't agree.
The Texans are also looking for a coach as well.
That's true.
Have they hired somebody yet? I don't think they've hired anybody else either.
I don't know.
So I think you have 3 really big jobs with head coaching vacancies right now. Well, and the Las Vegas Raiders. That's 4.
Yeah,
you've got the Raiders, you've got the Saints, the Dolphins, and the Texans, all without head coaches currently right now.
Who's Kevin O'Connell? Oh, he's offensive coordinator for the Rams. Ha! See that now.
So he's been
that's
hired?
who. No. That's who's looking at. The Texans are looking at Rams offensive coordinator.
Kevin O'Connell.
I don't know. Who's Jonathan Gannon? Who are these people?
And that makes me upset because Eric Bieniemy and Brian Flores, they should be head coaches in this league.
Why is Brian Flores not?
And how he is not? I know he has to have been interviewed by somebody.
Eric Bieniemy, though, I feel like there's a little bit
of
in
kind
him
of like, you know,
of
is
he's going to take over for Andy Reid. So I feel like,
really,
yeah, you don't feel that? I feel like Andy Reid and him kind of off to the side are just kind of like, hey, listen,
just stick around a little bit.
You can take a head coaching job. Like, I'm not going to be mad at you, but you're my heir apparent. Like, I've probably got 2 more years left in me, 2 or 3 more years.
That's
because Andy Reid's pretty old.
He is.
And he's been coaching for a long time.
Maybe if he wins a Super Bowl
as I said,
this year,
one more Super Bowl run. You have Eric Bieniemy to follow right up. You keep consistency there.
You stay with Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback.
And I was listening to this podcast the other day too. It's like, if you're Eric Bieniemy, you're not going to get a better situation than having Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Tyreek Hill.
No.
You're just not.
No, not at all.
So why would you? I mean, you're going to make more money, obviously, for a head coach. But unless you just can't wait, let's say 3 more years for Andy Reid. Let's just throw out a year. You can wait 3 years of making, let's say he makes $1.5 million a year to have Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, and Travis Kelce. And then you're going to be the head coach of them. And you're probably going to be a head coach get a 5-year contract after that. I would be willing to wait. I would be like,
so.
Hey, I can go coach the Texans, who have a quarterback that probably won't ever play again and are a dumpster fire. Or I could just stay in my comfy little place in Kansas City for 3 years and carry out head coach. That's my thoughts on Eric Bieniemy. And then the other one I saw, Miami was looking at. Who did Miami look at? I just told you a minute ago. Oh, it was Mike McDaniels. The offensive coordinator for the 49ers. And gosh, I just told you this, Cole.
And another guy that's kind of flying under the radar is
Brian Daboll. Yeah,
Brian
for Miami.
Is Josh McDaniels getting any looks for?
Yeah, that's what we just talked about a minute ago. Raiders.
Okay,
Remember?
Raiders. Okay,
yeah. Raiders, because then Bill O'Brien would get too many Bryans. Bill O'Brien would then go to the offensive coordinator for the Patriots. So McDaniels to Vegas.
It all comes together.
Yeah, there you go.
It's all coming together.
All right, that'll finish with the NFL news. I just wanted to catch up on the hirings there, in case you're not aware. So let's move on to some college basketball. We got to talk about some
great
college
basketball in this state of Alabama.
I think we have to start out with Auburn.
Absolutely.
They
number
are
one team in all of college
number
basketball.
Number one for a reason. I mean, they are playing outstanding basketball. They have legit number 1 overall pick in Jabari Smith. What sticks out to me most, obviously he's 6'10", and he's great, moves like a guard.
What doesn't stick out about him?
The contested shot making.
Yeah.
That's what sticks out to me, is that not only can he move and he's, has all the athletic talent, it's that he shoots in people's faces. And it doesn't affect the shot. It still goes down.
Yeah.
It reminds me. Everybody does this every year, and it drives me crazy. I'm going to do it again. It reminds me of Kevin Durant's shot.
Well, no, and he does.
Where it's like he's 6'10". Kevin Durant, I'm 7 feet. Let's be honest. And they're just shooting in people's faces, and it looks so pure. It looks so, easy to them. So that's what sticks out to me. So I mean. He's insane.
He's a walking bucket.
He is.
He's walking
great.
bucket.
And Auburn's offense in general is just humming along.
It
playing
is
really well.
When you got guys like Wendell Green, who's committed to his position, and I think does he come off the bench or is he?
I don't know if he comes off the bench or he starts some. I really haven't figured that out yet.
Him and
KD,
I think
KD
Johnson. Yeah, I mean KD Johnson. I mean he and they referred him as the psychopath or whatever, and he is. I mean he just brings the energy for this Auburn team.
Wendell Green, though, if you watch him, he shoots. I put this in the rundown. He reminds me a lot of Jared Harper. Where Jared Harper, they're shorter, they're fast, they're a little bit shorter, and they shoot.
He'll pull up from any position on the
threes.
Yeah, deep threes.
Deep threes. That's what that reminds me of. It's Jared Harper when he was playing for Auburn.
Well, you watched the Missouri game where Auburn was struggling. Jabari Smith, 5 points. I mean, it was an off game for him. And Bruce Pearl even said it after the game. He was like, it was an off game.
In fairness to Auburn, too, Missouri is last in 3-point percentage.
And they shoot fantastic.
And they shot fantastic in that whole game.
And they've done it against Alabama this year as well.
Exactly.
Where they've been a bad 3-point shooting and all of a sudden have a great game against
it happens.
Each team,
and so it was an off. It was also, it was definitely a letdown scenario for Auburn where they just come off that huge win against Kentucky and then they have to play.
You knew it was coming.
They have to play a very average Missouri team. And it was a letdown spot, and they still won. So it's like if you can still win in those letdown spots where your best player's playing bad, the other team's shooting lights out.
KD Johnson just stepped up. He went and got him back-to-back buckets to end the game and just stepped up. And not only was he supplying that energy, but he also was bringing the fire as far as scoring for them. And this is what you have to see about Auburn, is how do they sustain success when you go from being the hunter to the hunted?
That's
because
true.
we've seen with
That's
Alabama football, handling being number one, getting everybody's best
everybody's
game.
going to give you your A game. I think
how do they handle this moving forward?
I mean, that's a great
you've
point.
got the newness and the humble factor over with the Missouri game. You have Oklahoma, Alabama coming up on the next Tuesday. How do you handle being number one? Obviously, that home crowd from Auburn is maybe the best crowd in basketball
it's crazy.
right now.
What is
Maybe
John
the best
Rothstein
home-
says, "Welcome to the jungle." And they're all welcome to the jungle.
Absolutely, maybe
They
one
have
of the best home court advantages.
They probably
maybe.
have the best Twitter games and all because
The memes
have
are
you
just
seen it?
fantastic. Where they go, you
All
just
of the-
lost to shirtless
I
Bruce
would
Pearl.
say
I
all
mean,
of the
it's just great.
It's like all the teams that post, they have to post the final score thread or whatever, and then it's like the replies are like 3,000, and then it's like the likes are at
Auburn
like
Twitter
200.
just attacks them.
Yeah,
Just
Missouri.
attacks
Did you see
them.
Missouri's?
No,
It's literally a post of the final score, and then like the tweet. All the tweet was because the picture of the final score was, "We know it's coming," and it was like 3,000 replies.
That is great. That's great. Now,
Last thing I do want to talk about, which you can have another point too. Just for me, the last thing I did want to talk about is defensively. They've got
Walker Kessler.
they've got the best defensive big man in all of college basketball. Walker Kessler. He's
I
averaging
call him.
4.
I like to call him the big wall of hell no. That's what I like to call him because I mean there's just nothing
Well, if you
getting
watch
through
him,
that man.
he's averaging 4 blocks a game, which is insane.
Insane
To average 4 blocks a game. But also the shots he doesn't block, he just alters everybody's shot so much because they're so worried
He's
about
just in the way.
Everybody's
That's
so
why he's
worried
just
about it.
in the way.
Yeah. So I mean,
Do you
with all
remember
this,
Jarvis Bernardo, that from Mississippi State a few
No.
years back?
No.
He was a center, and he actually set a record
Really?
for the SEC for most blocks in a game and per game.
Really?
He was. You need to
Well,
look
you know
up.
who- you know
He was
who owns the,
ridiculous.
all-time-
He almost. I think they actually almost beat the Kentucky team that had John Wall and DeMarcus
with DeMarcus Cousins,
Mississippi
okay.
State played in the championship game, and Jarvis
Gotcha.
Bernardo was actually on that team. That's what he reminds me of. He's just a blocking machine. He blocks everything that comes his way.
You know who owns the which I don't know. I think Walker Kessler still has to continue to go off for blocks to even get close to this record.
This is a record for SEC or Auburn.
No, this is the record for all-time NCAA blocks in a season.
Who is
You
it?
know who owns it?
No.
Any guesses?
Is it an NBA player that's well known?
I mean, you know him. Yeah, he's not like
it's not. Is it Shaq?
no.
I don't know. Who is it?
David Robinson.
I should have guessed that. Wow,
That's pretty hard.
Yeah, I should have guessed it.
I would have
though.
guessed. I would have guessed Hakeem Olajuwon or
I mean, I would have went Tim Duncan, and he played at Wake
Lou
Forest.
Alcindor.
I mean, I would have named a couple of names.
I would have
but
probably guessed
of course,
Lou
a
Alcindor.
teammate of Tim Duncan, David Robinson.
Robinson.
That makes sense. I mean, the Admiral was a
good.
blocking machine
He's
too.
good.
So I mean, reminds
He's
me a
good.
lot. Yeah,
So we talked about the good.
you have a complete team with Auburn.
Let's talk about the bad side.
Okay.
And let's move on to Alabama.
Oh! I thought you meant.
No.
I thought you were trying to find a bad side of Auburn because I was like, it's kind of hard to find that
Can't
right
find
now.
one. I can find plenty though in
Can't
Alabama.
find many flaws.
So, first question for you is how is this the same team that beat Gonzaga and Houston earlier
Steven,
this
it
year?
feels like it's been months since that game against Gonzaga and Houston. That stretch of games where Alabama won those games, it feels like it's forever since those
crazy.
games happened.
It's crazy.
This feels like a night and day, just different team
It's
than
insane.
we saw against those two
It's
teams.
insane.
I cannot figure this team out.
So this is the things I've noticed watching them play of what is happening really. Missed defensive assignments is a huge one. So when the ball starts swinging, they lose their man and their switches fail. It's like some people are switching everything, other people's are like, wait, I'm not switching this, and so they just get all clustered in the middle and somebody gets wide open three. Or, somebody gets blown by and they think that they're getting help on the back end and then they're not getting help.
And that's, I think, something that Nate Oates has talked about. The attention to detail on the defensive side has definitely not been there like it was
Well,
last
I think
year.
a huge point I've talked about with Jeff several times is that they miss I'm blanking on his name right now.
Herb Jones.
Yeah, they miss him so much because not only was he the best one-on-one defender, he covered everybody else's up.
Oh yeah.
So
he
anytime
made up for your mistakes.
and he covered
on
two
defense.
guys at once most of the time. So he would get your guy that's running down and still be able to close out to his guy on the 3-point. And I think that especially Shackelford and Quinterly missed that so much to have a wing that is able to do that. And he was also another problem that Alabama's having. He's a great rebounder.
Oh, absolutely.
And they suffer so much on the rebounds. Part of it is just Nate Oates' scheme offensively. He wants his guards to go start running and so they miss kind of box outs so that there's some easy, and that that happened last year too. That's nothing new. It's obviously happening a lot worse this year.
Yeah, I agree.
It's very bad. And then hero ball tends to happen a lot in the half court.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know if you've
Not
noticed
knowing
that.
which guy who's going to get the ball, take the next shot.
And they're they don't. It's like they don't have a plan. They're just saying, "Hey, let's try to beat this guy
the ball
one-on-one."
is sticking too much.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It's not
it doesn't
flowing.
swing. Yeah, there's no flow.
There's no
when
flow
you get in
to
the
it.
half court, and granted they want to run, but when they get in their half court, they're just so stagnant. And it's like, hey,
it's like JD's turn to shoot.
Can JD
JQ's
Davison
time to
break this
shoot,
one-on-one?
yeah.
Can Shackelford break this one-on-one? Can he hit a contested three? And it's like, well,
And then if they get stuck, they'll just throw it out to Noah Gurley for a three, or throw it out to this guy for a three. Yeah.
And then of course, these are the two big ones too. Free throws. I don't know what they work on in practice. It was bad
They were
last year.
so good for a stretch,
It was really bad last year,
but man,
and it has been bad this year.
yeah, it's been bad.
You can't shoot. You don't win many games shooting 60% from free throw. You just don't. They call them free for a reason. And then turnovers. Offensive turnovers have been.
How many did they have against Georgia the other
19.
night? 19 turnovers.
Granted, they did get, I think, 12 or 14 from Georgia.
Oh, no.
But-
Yeah, well, and part of that's due because Georgia's not a good basketball team.
They're terrible.
But
They're terrible. So it's just that kind of thing leads me to, does Nate Oates' system still work? And shots just need to be able to fall because they're shooting abysmal from 3-point. Or do they need to rethink their game plan based on the personnel they currently have?
I think you have the answer right there. You have to work with the personnel that you have this year and right now during this current team that you have, because you can't base it off next year. I know that you have in the rundown.
I do.
You're looking forward to next year, obviously, with some
We'll
players
go over
you
the
have.
names in a second, but
But, I mean, this is the team that you currently have. This is the personnel you're working with. You have to find a way to win with this roster.
he has to change up his scheme offensively.
You have to.
You just can't. They're not going to win.
Or you're going to have more games like Georgia.
Or Missouri.
Or Missouri. Or you name it.
Yeah.
Name the above
I mean,
game, whatever you
they're
want to name.
13-7 right now, Cole. This is a team where when they beat Gonzaga and Houston, there was talk of them being a potential number 1 overall seed. And now
They just
there's
fell off
talk of them not making the tournament. So
and this is also a team that has next 3 games: Baylor, Auburn, and Kentucky.
Loss.
But the thing is, if you somehow maybe pull one of the 3, heaven forbid 2 of the 3,
That's a great. I mean,
any
of those are great wins.
You're
but-
right back in the 5-6 seed
So
talk
the
again.
problem is that they lost to Auburn when they had the chance in Coleman to
Yes.
win. You can't. They're not going to win in Auburn.
No,
Do they play Kentucky at home or do they play them?
They play Kentucky at home and Baylor at home.
Baylor, I just think, is just far and away. I mean, Kentucky is too. The problem with Kentucky too is, what's their center's name?
Oh, I can't think of his name. Is it
It starts with an
Chihuahua or
S.
something
like that? Yeah, it's really close.
Or
Something like that.
Something crazy.
He might break the record for rebounds against Alabama.
Seriously,
Honestly, what did he have, like 28 in that one game?
it was something.
I think
crazy.
he's gonna be in the 30s.
It was seriously
He'll probably be
28,
in the 30s.
He's gonna own the backboard.
Anyways,
against
you
Alabama,
mentioned it earlier. The bright side is for Nate Oates and his system is they have Brandon Miller, who is the number 1 small forward. You have Rylan Griffin, who is, I think he's a shooting guard. He might be a small forward. I might have those mixed up. Brandon Miller might be a power forward.
Could play either one. Maybe.
Yeah, Jaden Bradley, and Brandon Miller's, I think, 6'9". Rylan Griffin's 6'5". Jalen Bradley, number 1 point guard. He is 5. Him and Brandon Miller are the 5 stars, and then Noah Clowney, which I think he's a JUCO transfer.
Yes.
So
yeah.
You have, and these are all 4 and 5 star guys.
You have optimism,
You have the number 3 recruiting
and
class.
and I mean it's very evident Nate Oates can recruit. It's the adjustments in game and during this season.
As I say, I'm worried
that we need to
that
see from Nate Oates.
I'm worried that if they keep getting recruiting classes like they did, because I think they still had a pretty good one last year with the JUCO transfers and everything
absolutely.
else.
With JD Davison.
JD Davison
and
and then their center.
And Bediako.
Yeah, thank you.
But that's a struggle that's been for this year too. It's been
He's
Charles
been
Bediako has been very soft,
Yeah.
and has not been able to really assert.
Gets in foul trouble a lot.
He gets
too.
in foul trouble a lot, and he's just not physical when they need him to be on the glass and whatnot.
Yeah.
So
I'm worried that this is. I worry that this is going to turn into a Memphis situation where they had number 1 recruiting classes in 2 or 3 years. Number 1 overall recruiting classes, and we've seen them this year. Granted, they beat Alabama, but it's not hard to do right now.
and another thing you worry for Alabama is with the success they had early. Did they peak too soon? Did they win those games? Did they peak too soon? And now it's like they're stuck in a rut. They're in a evident shooting slump. They cannot get the ball to go through the hoop sometimes.
Keon Ellis got hurt too. Did you see that?
Do what now?
He got hurt in the Georgia game. Keon Ellis.
Yeah, Keon Ellis is hurt, and then Juwan Gary obviously did not play in Tuesday night's game. So I mean, you have now two guys.
They got Rojas back, and Rojas has been
Rojas back, and then there's a guy on the bench. Who is the guy that they haven't played all season long? Pretty much, he's got like 6 minutes to play, but there are people that are like screaming for him to play.
I don't know.
I can't remember what his name is, but
is he the Canadian?
Yes,
Alex Chaiku.
Yes,
Chaiku.
I mean, I've heard that this guy is like
he was a really high recruit. I think last year he got hurt.
How is he not?
He was out all season, and then apparently he was in Nate Oates' like on his for lack of a better word, his shit list. And I can't. Wow. I don't know why, but I think he was because he was suspended for a couple of games to start the season.
Well, maybe that makes sense. Maybe he's in the doghouse, but I heard Nate Oates post.
I couldn't think of doghouse. I just went straight to the shit list.
I think he's definitely in Nate Oates' doghouse. But Nate Oates talked about it after the Georgia game. There are going to be some changes that are going to be made. He said that there's definitely some lineup changes, some rotations that are going to have to be made. So I think Alabama's going to really have to work on the next few days before this Baylor game. You know, they had the Friday practice.
Darius Miles got hurt too.
You're going to probably see those kind of guys. I mean, Britton Johnson. Getting a lot of playing time the last couple games.
I don't know, man.
A guy who never had seen much playing time.
I think this is not. I think part of it is that Alabama had such a great season last year. There was so much hype going into this year, such a good recruiting class coming in, and that all that happened, and then they beat Gonzaga and Houston. Granted, they lost to Memphis, but you're like, okay, well, going into the season, you would have taken 2 out of those 3 all day, any day. And then now, where they are now is just, oh my goodness.
No, you're right.
It's falling off a cliff.
I agree.
So let's move on to the third team that we have to talk about because they are playing so great is UAB. They have the best team since 2014 by far. So the best team in 7 years. Andy Kennedy, he's built something with the transfers.
Absolutely. With Jordan Walker and oh my gosh, what's his name? I'm blanking on my names right now.
Need more information.
The big Trey.
But he was here last year.
Well, yeah, okay. Well, but still, okay. But he's a transfer. Trey Jemison. Yeah.
He is a transfer, but I think that he is, Andy Kennedy is playing it right, where at UAB you're not going to get the 5-star recruits. You're probably not going to get any 4-star recruits, but you can build something from transfers from different places. And man, oh man, have they built something. Jordan Jelly Walker.
Jordan Jelly Walker, baby. Yeah,
he can
a
shoot
baller.
the lights out.
He's a baller.
He can shoot the lights out. 36 against La Tech the other night. I guess that was Saturday, wasn't it? And then they play, of course, tonight. They play Western Kentucky at Western Kentucky, so that'll be an interesting game. They can definitely make some moves here. The sad thing is they need to be consistent, obviously. They lost a very puzzling loss to Rice, which is not a good basketball team. Puzzling loss there. But then I did see this thing, the stat, I think they're like one of 8 or 10 teams in the country that their only losses have been within 2 possessions.
Wow. That's crazy.
Because they lost to West Virginia by 6.
Yeah.
They lost to South Carolina by 2. Mm-hmm. They lost to, was it San Francisco?
Yes.
What was the other team they beat? St. Louis? Wasn't who they beat, right? St. Louis?
Yes.
San Francisco, they lost by 2.
Yes.
And so it's like, and Rice, they lost by 5. Weird loss.
But you have some really good players on this UAB team. Quan Jackson. We already talked about Trey Jemison and then Jelly Jordan Walker. And then you got Buffin and Lovin coming off the bench sometimes.
Yeah, you have Urkel, who's been clutch. He had a game winner, at least one. So you have this is and I honestly think this is a way more talented team than the UAB had in 2014.
Too. Absolutely.
So I think the sky's the limit. They have to be consistent. I think they could have gotten an at-large bid. They still talk of them getting an at-large bid, which is crazy.
Even if they don't win the conference?
Even if they don't win the conference.
Which I think they will. I think they're the best team in the Conference USA after beating Louisiana Tech for the sole lead of the tournament.
Which is crazy. That was the first time they've ever beat La Tech in La Tech.
In Shreveport? Yeah.
Well, it's not Shreveport. It's
is that Louisiana Tech not in Shreveport?
No, it's oh gosh.
I thought they were in Shreveport. Are you sure?
I'm almost positive.
I thought 100% they were in Shreveport.
Wouldn't be the first time. No, it starts with a B, I think. Anyways, keep talking about while I look this up.
So I mean,
any other?
well, they had the close. You were talking about the teams they lost close to. You named South Carolina, West Virginia, San Francisco. Those are all. I mean, other than San Francisco, probably quality losses. I mean, West Virginia looks like a pretty good
San
loss
Francisco,
right now.
I think, is a quadrant 2.
So not necessarily a bad loss. Then.
No, it's not a bad loss. Ruston.
Wow, I really thought it was Shreveport. Okay. Never mind.
Okay. I didn't think it was Shreveport because I've been to Shreveport and I was like I knew it was a weird.
So let's take all 3 teams. We'll start with UAB and then we'll look at Auburn and Alabama too. We'll look at since this episode will probably be airing on a later date. So we'll kind of look at the next 3 games for each opponent.
This episode will be airing on the 28th.
The 28th
on
a Friday.
28th.
The 28th. Okay. We'll look at their next 3 games. So UAB has Western Kentucky, and they're at Marshall on Saturday, and then Middle Tennessee State at home. You like them going 3-0 the next 3 games?
Marshall's probably the hardest game.
Marshall probably being the hardest game.
Yeah.
That's the Saturday game.
Yeah. I think Middle Tennessee is down year this year. Western Kentucky's not good this year, so I think it's Marshall. But I think they win. I don't see the rest of their schedule, which is all Conference USA. They should win every single game. Southern Miss is terrible.
Barring Louisiana Tech at home, the last game of the season.
Right. That's their hardest game.
That's the hardest game they have left.
Yeah. Conference USA is pretty bad. So
hardest road game you'd say they have left, though, is the at Marshall game on Saturday. You think so?
Maybe UTSA. UTSA is sneaky good.
I gotta say, Stephen.
But I think they should run away with the conference.
I think they run away.
They should.
I mean, I say they may be losing 1 or 2 more games the rest of the season.
The only reason that La Tech even stays in the gym with them is because Kenny lost.
I mean, there's a bunch of 7-12, 0 wins in conference teams in this conference.
Bad. No, they're bad.
I mean, that's
why it would be surprising if they get a
at large
because their conference schedule, their conference sucks.
So almost they have to win.
And then the 3 games they had that were quadrant 1 or quadrant 2 were South Carolina, West Virginia, and San Francisco.
Yes.
And they lost those.
Yes.
So those are the ones they needed to win. St. Louis is a good win, and then they beat somebody else who's pretty good out of conference. But those are the wins they needed to get the at-large. So I don't want to pick the Final Four right now. I have that on the rundown, but I just want to move on because I don't really know my Final Four, honestly.
And I feel like it's the next 3 games for UAB. Talking about Alabama now. You don't think they win the next 3 games at all? Like even win one of them?
If you're
even win one. You don't think they win one? Just
I mean,
one,
it's hard.
Steve.
It's hard not to win one of those 3. But they're
2 of them are at home. 2 of them are at home too.
They could quickly go from 13-7 to 13-10, like easily.
I mean, like, and that's just so crazy to think about.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is like you said, this is a team that they were literally talking about being a 1 seed, and now they're
Lenardi has
borderline.
them as a 5 seed right now. He hasn't updated it yet. I don't think. I think he updates it on Monday. But as of Monday, before the Georgia loss, he had them as a 5 seed, playing UAB actually, which would be very interesting.
Crazy.
That'd be very crazy if Alabama plays UAB. Honestly, right now, UAB would win. I really think that.
I think so too. I think you're right. That's crazy.
That's not even like I really think that.
No,
I think that Alabama has a more
right.
talented roster, but UAB is just playing better basketball. I would say maybe one of the 3. I would say it would probably be Kentucky, honestly.
Kentucky. And that really depends on Ty Washington's health.
Right.
And Wheeler's health.
Depends on the health and if they can figure out a way to not let whatever the center's name.
I'm going to say UAB wins 3 of the next 3.
Yeah.
I'll say Alabama wins 1 of the next 3.
Correct.
And now Auburn has Oklahoma at home on Saturday. They then play Alabama at home on Tuesday, and they travel to Georgia the next Saturday.
3-0.
So you think 3-0?
I think Oklahoma's their hardest game. Is Oklahoma bad this year?
They are 13-6, I believe. They beat West Virginia, and Oklahoma had that skid where they were winning a few games in a row, and then they kind of went on like a skid.
They were good last year.
Well.
I'm kind of had that in the back of my mind. I have not watched an Oklahoma game, believe it or not. I would say that was probably their hardest game was Oklahoma. Georgia's very bad.
But so both your toughest
bad.
games are at home, and
Yes.
your weakest game is always on the road. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I think Auburn wins the next 3 as well.
Yeah.
So I think UAB and Auburn win the next
3-0.
3, and
3-0.
maybe Alabama can win 1 of the next 3. Because if Alabama does just win 1 of the next 3, that's another quad 1 win for Alabama. That's
Be huge.
I mean,
be huge.
Because then you'll have Gonzaga.
They need to win that.
Houston. You already have win over LSU and Tennessee.
How did they beat LSU and Tennessee?
And
what is happening?
It is
Tennessee.
Like
I know.
You said,
I know
the
how
consistency is just not.
I know
there.
how they beat Tennessee is because Tennessee was out there two
Tennessee
best
was
players.
missing 2 players.
Their
yes.
best players.
They're
two best players.
They're leading
And they still almost won. It's true. Alabama had needs
But
some
if
help
you
here.
somehow steal a game against Kentucky or Baylor,
That's a really good win. I think that they would still have to make some noise in the SEC. Not
sure.
win it, but just make some noise because I do think that the SEC is the best basketball conference right now.
you do.
Oh, I do.
Okay.
I do. Well,
By far and away, or
no, not far and away.
So who's the next closest conference?
Maybe Big Ten.
You think the Big Ten?
ACC is having a very bad year. It's like Duke and then nobody. Maybe Miami.
I think the Big 12 is pretty good this year. I think there's some really good Big 12 teams.
Yeah, Baylor. Oh, I guess you have Texas Tech, Baylor,
Kansas,
Iowa State.
Texas
Iowa
Tech.
State just lost
Yeah, I mean, but Texas Tech, Kansas,
Texas Tech, Kansas.
I mean, those are some good
How's
basketball
Texas
teams
doing this year?
Yeah,
How
Texas. Texas. I know they have
I
winning
know
record.
I asked you a very random question.
I'm not 100%
You don't know
sure.
Texas's record
Yeah,
off
you
the top
don't,
of
you
your
don't
head?
know Texas's record. How could you even say that? No, but I think there's some good teams in the Big 12 as well. So I mean, I think the SEC is good. I think, but like most people say about the conferences, is that they're very top heavy.
Oh, for sure. Well,
And I think the SEC can be a little top heavy, but I think some of the top is really good.
Well, I think
Texas A&M, Arkansas, those next tier teams right below
They're pretty good.
Kentuckys and Auburns are right there with.
I think if Alabama was good, like stayed good, then I think they would be the best conference. Because then you have Alabama, Auburn, LSU, Tennessee. I think Florida's having a down year though.
they're 12-7. They're like 12 or 13.
So
and
kinda
7.
down
They're
there
kind of like
for
Alabama.
Florida.
They're kind of like Alabama, just right there floating.
And then Mississippi State, Arkansas.
Not bad. Mississippi State, not bad.
Yeah, you
Arkansas.
have decent teams. Like you have Auburn, LSU, and Tennessee at the top, and then you have,
And
Arkansas. Oh, and Kentucky. Excuse me. And then you have Arkansas, Alabama. Those kind of teams kind of
I
teetering
put
in the middle
Arkansas
there.
and Texas A&M ahead of Alabama.
I would
right
too.
now,
I
for
would too.
sure.
But then you have. So I mean, pretty good team.
And Mississippi State, of course, because
Yep.
they just beat Alabama by default.
Yep.
And then, of course, Kermit and Ole Miss's team is just right there behind all of them. I mean, I agree. I think this conference is good. But then you look at some of the bottom dweller teams, you're like, ooh.
Yeah. All to my point though is I think that Alabama, even if they win one of these next three, I think they still would have to win at least 1 or 2 games in the SEC tournament
Okay.
to make the bracket because they're bad. Because I don't see them that being there.
I
don't
think
see
it depends
two of
on
these,
where they are seated. But
I don't think these next 2 of these 3, those will be their only losses. I think they'll have more losses.
they're
Up and down, up and down, up and down.
Well, they do have the trip to LSU still left on their schedule.
Yeah, that's
too,
a loss.
So. Stephen has lost all hope in this Bama team.
Okay.
There is no more
when you
hope
play
left.
Georgia,
Oh, I
Georgia's
get it.
bad.
I get it. Well,
Missouri is bad. Do you know the only reason they beat Missouri too? Did you see the free throws? Did you watch that game at all?
Yeah, I know. I watched it. Was it like what? Like 25?
Bama
or
had
like 11?
29.
29?
Missouri had 6.
How many makes did Alabama have?
I don't know. They shot pretty good.
They had to have shot pretty good.
It was like
if
25.
it was that much.
It was 24 or 25.
Wow.
So, I mean, that was the difference in the game was free throws. Anyways, so that move on from college basketball.
Wow.
We will give you our next picks probably next week, our Final Four picks next week.
After we kind of conclusive
look it over.
on how teams are
I
doing.
gotta go to the lab real quick. We
We got
do
Big
some
12
testing.
SEC challenge this
Yeah.
week. Maybe we can kind of see.
Go through my models.
Yeah.
I have models.
Yeah.
My algorithms.
Science.
I just wanted to talk about
science.
Exactly.
Remember that show?
Yeah, of course.
That was good. Man, that was
John
good
Prikus.
stuff. Oh man, that was good stuff.
I just wanted to go over college football news real quick because we are mostly a college football show. Anyways, Alabama, their transfers. We have Jermaine Burton, Jahmyr Gibbs.
Saban warned the country about killing with the transfers, and boy, he has taken advantage of the
crazy.
portal.
So they get Georgia. I think he was a former 5-star
Jermaine
wide
Burton.
receiver.
Wow,
Which they
he's
just didn't
catching some
use.
flack for this transfer too. A lot of heat for it.
I don't know why he won the national championship and then he didn't play much. I'm
Could
curious.
he be
though.
the first player to ever win back-to-back national championships with 2 different teams?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Wow, that'd be.
It's a good question. Good trivia. I'll have to put that in my
I have to
trivia.
look that up. I mean, I think that would be.
And then
the
they
first guy.
obviously lose Brian Robinson, but then they get Jahmyr Gibbs, who I think he's like a Josh Jacobs kind of back
Do
for
it all
Alabama.
back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he catches a lot of passes, so that'll be interesting, especially for Bryce
number
Young,
one wide receiver in the transfer portal, number 1 running back, and then you get.
number 1 corner in the transfer, and Eli Ricks. So
I mean, the rich just get
as I
rich.
say, the rich get richer. Alabama doesn't even have to recruit anymore; they just take players from other teams and get there. And then
he didn't have to do any work. He didn't have to develop them. They're already developed. Just come on and just join the team.
Exactly.
Oh my god!
I'm surprised Georgia didn't use Jermaine Burton more. So I'm confused about that. I'm wondering if
this is not just a guy that was just a role player on Georgia's offense.
He's a big dude.
He was a big contributor to their offense.
He's a big dude too. He's tall, like big.
And he's going to the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback.
That's probably so. I was listening to another podcast about why they think he made this move, and I think a lot of people were pointing to the fact, okay, well, you can have another year of Stetson Bennett, he won the national championship. He's not a terrible quarterback, but he's not.
Yeah.
How
dynamic is Stetson Bennett?
Or you go to a passing game that is a lot more dynamic with the Heisman winning
kind of maybe raise that draft stock a little bit. Maybe that's in the back of your mind a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah. And then I did want to touch on Auburn. They're getting kind of rid of their SEC feel that Harsin did. He came in, he immediately hired Mike Bobo and I'm going to blank on their defense coordinator's name.
Mason.
Derek Mason. Yes. So he immediately hires them, kind of getting into the SEC
ties. Yeah.
Exactly.
Now he's going more pro.
Gets rid of them. Gets more pro. Gets more Boise
pro
because he's hiring people that were Boise with him at Boise. So it kind of does that,
which we knew that was going to happen eventually. Eventually, Brian Harsin was going to get his guys in there,
which makes sense. So. I think that it was smart to just kind of have some SEC ties because I
kind of like that too. Kind of like saying I'm not going to just bow down to the SEC. This is the way I feel that this program should be ran, and to his credit, he's doing it.
Well, I think he realized that I can try and conform, or I can do my own thing and feel good about it, because I don't think he felt good about what were they 7-7?
6-7 last year.
6-7. So 6-7.
He's lost the bowl game.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I don't think they felt good. I don't know why I said 7-7. They didn't play 14 games.
They had a playoff.
I don't think he feels good. I don't think he feels good about it because he tried to be so conform. Whereas I think if he goes 6-7 this year, but he does it his way, he'll feel like he's like, okay, I did what I know I can do as well as I can.
Not much of a yes man. He's actually saying this is how I'm going to run the program. These are going to be my rules. Exactly. I like it.
And then Auburn, are they going to make more moves in the transfer portal, or are they content and they're like, hey, we got
content with Zach Calzada?
If I'm an Auburn fan, I'm not content.
I don't know how you, especially when you had Caleb Williams as rumors for possibly transferring there. Obviously, it looks like he's a foregone conclusion. He's going to go to USC now. It looks like that way. It looks like that's a all but concluded.
It does look that way. USC's gotten a lot of recruits, or not transfers. Excuse me.
I think behind LSU for the number 2 ranked transfer class.
They have a bunch of transfers.
Which, of course, their recruiting class was kind of
their recruiting
down,
class was bad.
So it's good that they had a good transfer
class. They have a
class.
Bunch of
they have a lot of good.
What I was listening to though. We're getting off topic here, but what I was listening another podcast. Apparently, listen to a lot of podcasts.
Imagine that, a podcast listening to a lot of podcasts.
Crazy. Yeah. They won't solve anything because their offense and defensive line are so bad at USC. So it's like until they can get a recruit or recruits that will help, or transfers that will help them on the line.
And that's what Auburn, going off of that. That's something that they have not addressed yet, is the offensive line. They haven't had much.
They have their first. This is crazy. It's in 10 years their first left tackle signed.
What?
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah,
that sounds weird just to say.
It's insane. How do you not sign a left tackle? Wow. Or a
They've
tackle.
signed every other position on the offensive line before.
Well, I don't know how many what all they've signed, but. A true tackle, listed as a tackle, anyways. Wow. So he might have played. He might have been listed as a guard or a center, and then just moved him over to tackle.
That's nuts,
right?
But if you're Brian Harsin,
it may not be 10 years either, but it's a long
going back
time.
to your original question. Do you think they are content with Calzada moving forward?
I would not be. Do I think they are? I think they might be, just because I think they kind of
it's a step up from.
It's a step up from what they have, because all they have right now is I think they have a 4-star quarterback coming in. Could be wrong about that.
I think so.
I did see rumors about Georgia's got the 5-star quarterback Brock Vandergriff or something like that.
Yeah.
Saw rumors that because his girlfriend goes to Auburn.
Transferring.
He hasn't put his name in the transfer portal or anything like that. So these are rumors on rumors. But his girlfriend goes to Auburn. He's got some Auburn ties.
This is a growing quarterback room now. I mean, how many more guys want to go and be competitive with that room?
Well, too, it's if you're Zach Calzada, you're thinking okay, I'm not going to be able to start at Texas A&M because they have a good quarterback recruit coming in, and then they also have Haynes King, obviously, who just got hurt.
He's coming back.
So he's probably like, okay, I'm not going to be able to start there. I'm going to go to another situation where I have a better possibility of starting.
And it's a pro-style offense now, so maybe Zach Calzada can have success with it.
He had one good game, and that was against
Alabama.
Alabama. And that was a great game. But it was like the rest of his games.
His life.
The rest of his games were just, ugh.
Wasn't good.
Yeah.
No, you're right. You're right. So maybe not. But Alabama definitely winning the transfer portal game. As far as addressing some big needs, receiver was definitely one they need to address.
Receiver, running back, cornerback
was definitely one they needed to address, and they addressed them all.
They actually kept a lot of players from last year too,
and they keep 9 of 11 starters on defense. I mean, the Tide are just lacing it up for another title run, I guess.
Will Anderson and
I mean, yeah, you only bring
Bryce
back the
Young.
the best offensive and best defense player in the country. I mean, how they keep it's like that meme. He can't keep getting away with this.
I really do think like this is so because we never talked about the national championship. And we're not going to get into it because we can talk for another 30 minutes.
Not too far into it.
But I really do think Alabama would have won if they would have kept
Jameson Williams.
If he would have been healthy.
I'm with you, and I think
they
really would have met. Yes,
Mechie and
if you have John Mechie and Jameson Williams, there's no doubt because Bryce Young you could just tell without a receiver and a downfield threat, it's just hard.
It's hard.
It's just hard. So you get that, you get Jermaine Burton,
and
obviously you have
a lot of drops.
Absolutely, you get Jermaine Burton, and obviously you have some guys coming back. You have your oh my gosh, I'm blanking on some names now because it's been so while since football season.
Who are you talking about? Give me clues.
Returning receivers for Alabama.
Slade Bolden. No,
not Slade Bolden. Not my favorite guy.
He went to the NFL,
Slade.
by the way.
Slade Bolden.
What is life? He was going to the NFL draft. Who does he think he is? I guess he's like, hey, Bill Belichick.
Who am I thinking of?
You want this?
It's the guy that
number
caught
13,
the pass.
number 88,
caught the number 7. Caught the pass.
Oh,
against
Ja'Cory
Auburn.
Brooks.
Jordan Brooks.
Ja'Cory
Brooks.
Yes.
Ja'Cory Brooks.
What's
and
Ajay
Hall. Ajay Hall.
There's one more we're missing.
Oh boy. Don't do this to me right now.
What was the guy who returned punts? He did for
JoJo Earl.
Yes, thank you.
JoJo Earl. Yes.
Ha ha.
Ha ha. We can memorize names. Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh. We're so bad at this, Cole.
At least it's not as bad as when I sat there and I thought that Slade Bolden was John Mechie for a second.
Dude, I tried to save you for so long too. You're like, no. It's Slade Bolden.
Hey, well, you know what? Slade Bolden's going to go 6th round to the Patriots. He looks like a Bill Belichick type receiver.
Oh,
does he not?
Yes, of course.
He's going to go 6th round to Bill Belichick, and he's going to have a great record and whatnot with them.
At least he knows Mac Jones, I guess.
Exactly. He's very familiar, so it'll be hilarious. Well, guys, this has been a blast.
It's been great. We're going to post because Cole
we got to.
We're going to post.
We got to.
Because we're going to build our brand.
Yes.
Build our brand. Build the brand.
So guys,
what's Pat McAfee?
For the brand.
For the brand.
We're building the brand. We're building the brand.
Yeah. Screw for the brand. Build the brand.
We're building a brand. We don't have a brand yet. No. We're trying to build it. Well, guys, we appreciate y'all watching. If you're watching this on Facebook or if you're listening on Spotify, make sure you like and subscribe. Steven will get on that with social media, and I'll get on with social media. We just got to be better about that. But guys,
Cole's gonna be a famous TikToker.
Yeah, we'll get on that.
I need you to dance.
Be good people out there. Be good people out there, guys. We'll see you next episode.